Hello and welcome to this episode of Memorial Cooking Innovations. This is our second in a two-part series of kids cooking in the kitchen. I'm Leanne Anderson, registered dietitian and diabetes educator at the Polk Education Center with CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial. And I'm welcoming back today our chef, Megan. She was with us last month and she's back again.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm glad to be here.
Good. How have you been doing this summer?
I've been good.
Cooking?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All the time.
So last time we did some basic, easy to fix breakfast and snack ideas for kids. And today we're going to get a little bit more in depth in the kitchen. As a review, what are some of your basic kitchen rules if you're going to cook at home?
The first one is to always have your parents' permission before you start cooking. The second is to either wear an apron or clothes you don't really care about. And the third is to always clean up afterwards.
Right. And that's the last but not least most important, so you get to come back, right? Okay. So today we're going to cook kind of a family meal. And I think this is a recipe you and your mom developed. Is that right? So that's always fun, is to cook together in the kitchen. What is our first recipe?
First, we're making an orzo with some ground meat and lots of vegetables in it.
Okay, so kind of a healthier version of maybe hamburger helper type of thing. Okay, so to start with, we've got water boiling for our pasta. And again, when we're working around the stove, what is the rule we want to follow with that?
You should always use an oven mitt or something to protect your hands from the heat.
Okay, absolutely. And then also you want to turn these handles away from the outside so you don't accidentally knock off your pans of boiling water. So we're going to add to this some of the orzo. And tell me what orzo is exactly.
Orzo is like pasta kind of disguised as rice. It looks like rice, but it's just pasta.
Okay, so you would find it in the pasta section
Yes.
of the grocery store. So 1.5 cups. We've got probably about 6 cups of water boiling, just like you would if you were cooking macaroni or some other type of pasta. And we also added some salt. That helps give the pasta some flavor. And so another 1.5 cups. This is going to serve about 6 people. And once this gets started, we're going to cook for about 9 to 10 minutes. Okay, and we're just going to stir that and get it going. Okay. Next, we're going to brown the beef. So we have our skillet preheated. Megan, you want to throw that in there? And now one important food safety rule is whenever you are handling meat, you want to wash your hands before and after. We washed our hands before we got started today. And then when you cook your meat, you want to have the skillet hot, and that helps the meat not stick to the pan quite so much. And this is extra lean hamburger meat, so it's not going to have too much extra fat. We'll turn the heat down a little bit. Probably one habit that's easy to get into is to have your skillet too hot. So always keep it on the lower end. You want to hear it sizzling, but not sticking to the pan. Okay, so it looks like that hamburger is cooked through, and there's not any extra fat since we used the extra lean hamburger that we need to drain. And we've got the pasta boiling. So what's next?
Next, we separate the meat from out of the pan so we can cook the vegetables.
Okay. I'm just going to set that aside then.
Just
Okay, and also since we had the hamburger meat package on here earlier, we did wash the cutting board. And so show us how to do the vegetables so we're doing it safely.
first I'm going to start with the carrots. And if you peel it, you want to peel it outward, because if you peel it inward, you could easily get your finger
Right, because I think I told a story about that earlier when I was learning how to cook, and my grandmother told me to do it the way you're doing it, and I wouldn't, and cut my finger. All right, and then just cut it into slices. Okay, so we just cut these in just little coin-sized pieces, if you will. And then also, we need to add some oil to the pan so the vegetables don't stick. So while you're cutting that, add about a tablespoon of oil. There's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So I'm gonna, easy. You have to be pretty good at math to cook, don't you think?
Measuring stuff and knowing how much to put.
Okay, so we're gonna let that heat. That looks good. And then the zucchini, we put zucchini and yellow squash in this. And so we also wash the vegetables before we start to use them.
For the zucchini, I cut off the ends and then I carefully cut it lengthwise. And then cut each half lengthwise again.
That's so they'll cook more quickly, right? So what are some other main dish type recipes that you like to make?
Well, I like this one pasta recipe that has shrimp in it and it's got lemon and Parmesan.
Okay.
And my mom loves that recipe and it's really good.
Okay. And what's a good side dish with that particular recipe with the shrimp? Do you have anything else with it?
I always make some rice, like some
Okay.
brown rice with it. Just add something else to it.
Okay. So the pasta, we're going to kind of stir that to make sure it's cooking pretty well. I think I'll put the cover back on. The good thing about the orzo as opposed to rice is you don't have to worry about having the right exact amounts of water in rice, so that's good. And I think we ended up estimating about 6 cups of vegetables is what we need. Okay, and the bell pepper's next. So
I cut the end off first. There's many different ways to cut a bell pepper. This is just what I do. I cut off the part with the seeds. Pull that out.
okay.
Cut it in half.
So there's really no right or wrong way. It's probably based on
Your personal
your
preference.
preference and maybe how big your knife is and how much time you have.
Okay.
Now another thing that people can do at home is if you don't have time to chop the vegetables, you can always buy them pre-cut, and that saves you some time in the kitchen.
I cut it into slices. So now I'm gonna make little cubes out of them. Watch your fingers. Don't cut yourself.
And that would be called dicing that pepper. All right. And then those cherry tomatoes, we just cut those in half.
Yeah. You can leave them whole. I've seen it done it, but I like to cut them in half.
Gives you a little bit more juice in the pan. Those are also a great snack to have on hand at home. You can just pop in your mouth or even grow your own. A lot of people
They're easy to
this
grow
time
at
of
home.
year have their gardens. Okay, so I think the oil's hot and we're ready to add those veggies. I got about 6 cups of those there. You always want to be careful when adding to oil. You can splatter. Okay, turn the heat down a little. Looks good. All that color looks awesome. So one of the benefits of cooking at home is you can add a lot more vegetables and get a lot more vitamins and minerals and save money versus eating out or going through the fast food line.
I'm gonna add some herbs now.
Okay. And you've got thyme and rosemary.
Let me get it open.
Oh, doesn't want to
Got
come
it.
off. There we go.
I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of each.
Okay.
Just spread it around.
That smells good. And if you don't like these particular spices, this is one of these recipes where you can add or take out what you don't want. If you don't like the yellow squash, you could always add some cauliflower or broccoli or some other vegetable that your family likes. And then the dried herbs are easy to add. There's no prep or washing, but you could always use fresh with those as well. And so we're gonna let that saute, how long?
About 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so the vegetables, we've cooked those for about 10 minutes. And we went ahead and drained the orzo. If you're an inexperienced cook, you wanna make sure and have an adult help you with that because it is extremely hot. So what's next?
Next, we add all the meat into the vegetables so it can kind of reheat.
Okay.
Mix it all up.
Smells wonderful.
All the herbs.
Yeah, and one good point too is we haven't used any salt in this recipe other than we salted the water to boil the pasta because that helps with the flavor of that, and you really don't get that much sodium when you do that. And compare that to a cup of like a box dinner with the hamburger and pasta. That has almost a half a teaspoon of salt, and we've not used any. So that's a huge healthy switch.
Okay.
So we're gonna add the pasta back to the pan. And add the vegetables and the meat.
Use where'd
The pot holder disappeared.
the
It's kind of heavy.
Get it up.
Awesome. Looks great. And then just stir it. To get the pasta. We need to turn the heat down. Actually, you can probably just turn the heat off. Be careful after you've turned off your burners and taken the pans off, you don't touch the stove. Okay, what's next?
Next, we add 2 different kinds of cheeses.
Okay.
First, we have crumbled feta.
Feta, that is a Greek cheese.
It's kind of tangy.
Okay.
How much of this?
I think it's a half a cup. Yes, half a cup of feta, crumbled feta cheese. You can buy it already crumbled at the store. If your family doesn't like feta cheese, you could always substitute goat cheese, or we're going to add some Parmesan cheese as well. You could use just more of that if you wanted to. But it's a great way to introduce your kids to new and different flavors. And we bought the pre-grated Parmesan cheese. This is better. This is the fresh. It's different than the powder that a lot of times you get with pizza. It melts a little bit more and doesn't have as much sodium.
I think that tastes a lot better than the powdered
Yeah, it
stuff.
has a fresher taste. Okay, so it's ready to serve. We only got 2 pans dirty and made it in just less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're ready for our side dish to go with the pasta. And it looks like we've got watermelon fruit salad.
It's an island fruit salad.
Okay. One thing, safety-wise, we went ahead and I cut the watermelon in half since it's big and you needed a really big knife. But Megan is going to show us how to cut the rest of the melon. Once you've cut it into slices, then it's a little bit easier to handle. So you always want to have a responsible adult help you with cutting the melon, right? Okay. And before that, we went ahead and melted some sugar, 2 tablespoons of sugar in 2 tablespoons of water, microwaved it for 20-30 seconds,
Yeah.
and made sure the sugar was dissolved. And where do we go from there?
Next, we add half of a lemon or a lime juice. But first, you want to roll it out so you can get all the juices flowing so it's not so hard to squeeze it in there. You cut it in half.
Okay.
Squeeze it in there.
So that's going to give us kind of that citrus, kind of sweet and sour kind of dressing. Awesome. Okay, that smells really good too.
And then we're going to add half of a teaspoon of
Rum extract. Okay, kind of give it that Hawaiian tropics flavor.
Going to mix it all
Stir that
up.
up. Okay. Smells good too.
Set it aside.
Okay.
Now I'm going to cut the watermelon. I'm going to go from the side, kind of work it under.
Keeping those hands away from the knife like she's showing you. Cutting away. And this is a seedless watermelon. It's a small one, so you don't have a lot of extra left over in case you're not going to use it all quickly. You can also buy the pre-cut. That will save you some time and be a little safer if you've got a more inexperienced cook. And so we measured a cup in there already. And I'm going to add another cup for 2 cups total.
Okay, that looks
Okay.
good.
And then we've got the orange. We went ahead and peeled that. We're just going to cut that into chunks. So this fruit salad has tons of color, tons of vitamins. You got vitamin C with the orange. The watermelon provides lots of fluid and also has some vitamin C along with our kiwi fruit. So the more color you add to your diet and to your meals, the more nutritious and healthy vitamins and minerals you get. Okay. And then the kiwi fruit. So this one requires a little bit of prep as well. You've got to take that fuzzy peeling off. Usually you want to pick the ones that are a little bit soft. They're usually a little easier to peel. Sometimes a vegetable peeler will work. These were a little more difficult to peel. So what other plans do you have this summer?
Well, this summer in I think July, I'm going to a summer camp.
Oh, really?
It's a church summer camp, and I'm there for I think 5 days.
Okay.
And I also plan to go swimming a lot.
Get that exercise. Yeah, the summer is the time for everybody to be more active. Usually for kids, we recommend that you get at least 60 minutes of activity a day to help make your heart strong and have a healthy body. Another thing that you can do with this fruit is make a fruit water, and that's going to be more healthy than drinking sodas or other sweetened beverages. You can just take sliced fruit, put it in a jar of water, and set it in the refrigerator and let it infuse for a few hours, and it'll give you a nice refreshing drink without all the added sugar.
Okay.
Okay, we need to slide that other one probably. The other looks like a lime. They're actually the same color.
Yeah.
So kiwi fruit are good to eat on their own, just like watermelon. You can just slice them or peel them, or even some people will cut them in half and scoop out with a spoon. So there's lots of different fun ways you can have the kiwi fruit. Okay,
And then
add our dressing and coconut. And we need two tablespoons of coconut. Gives it more of that kind of tropical flavor. And then we'll add our dressing. Yeah, that's a half a tablespoon. Okay. And add that dressing and mix it up. More color.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we've added just a little bit of sugar to give it some sweetness. You could leave that out if you didn't feel like you needed it, but it does add a little bit of flavor and helps the fruit get more juicy. So I think we're ready to eat.
Yeah.
All right, so our pasta's ready. Been sitting here and the cheese has melted. I'm gonna give it one more final stir. Oh, this looks great.
And all the cheese is all gooey and
Yes. Some of that. Add some little carrots there. And if somebody doesn't like carrots, I can try to avoid those when they dish it up. And here we've got the fruit.
I like all the colors.
Yes, very colorful. So, I think that looks like a good, easy family meal. So thank you, Megan, for joining us again for 2 shows in a row. I think we've probably inspired a lot of young chefs out there. Today we've made a 1.5, 2-pan meal that's good for the family, that's better than some of your box type of dinner mixes that added vegetables and some lean protein, very little salt, and then we added more vitamins and minerals with the fruit salad that has kind of a tropical flair. So we've also talked about kitchen safety. Last but not least, we always want to clean up when we're done, right? So thanks again, and hope you'll join us again soon as we try to change the world one bite at a time.